have a bunch of dishonest people. They've created ISIS. Hillary Clinton created ISIS with Obama. Created with Obama.
When you look at her real record, take a look at Syria, take a look at the migration, take a look at Libya, take a look at Iraq. She gave us ISIS because her and Obama created this huge vacuum. And a small group came out of that huge vacuum because we should have never been in Iraq, but once we were there, we should have never got out the way they wanted to get out. She gave us ISIS as sure as you are sitting there. And what happened is now ISIS is in 32 countries. And now I listen how she's going to get rid of ISIS. She's going to get rid of nobody.
It's not Islam that's causing these issues. It's the West's obsession with Islam. Let me give you a few points here. Let's start off with the creating of fake propaganda content. All you have to do is search Bell Pottinger, not to mention the West clearly admitting that they have supported groups like Al-Qaeda and ISIS.
And we know that this was growing. We were watching. We saw that Daesh was growing in strength, and we thought Assad was threatened. We thought, however, we could probably manage, that Assad might then negotiate.
We had this brilliant idea that we were going to come to Pakistan and create a force of mujahideen, equip them with Stinger missiles and everything else to go after the Soviets inside Afghanistan.
The people we are fighting today, we funded 20 years ago.
In my 30 years experience of working with these groups, actually on both ways, on both sides of radical groups and having been involved with them, nearly always standing behind radical groups has been a state actor or an intelligence service of a state actor. For all these decades since, we have been using Wahhabism in its radicalized form in order to pursue Western interests. So we've had this deep ambivalence in Western policy where we're both in bed with terrorists and fighting them at the same time.
Yeah, you got Iran. That's right. They removed a democratically elected leader, Mohammad Mossadegh, and replaced him with a tyrant, the Shah. All you need to do is search something called the Iran-Contra scandal. Not to mention drawing borders in Muslim lands that have caused conflicts that are even ongoing as we speak. You just need to search the Durand Line, Sykes and Picot, the Berlin Conference. I did mention some leaders that have been installed by the West, the Shah in Iran I mentioned, but you've got many others here. Suharto in Indonesia, who was a tyrant. Mobutu of Congo, yeah, they called him one of the worst dictators. Savimbi of Angola, Abacha of Nigeria, Samuel Doe of Liberia. Not to mention the drone strikes and the use of illegal weaponry that decimate the population, like depleted uranium that causes cancer. About half of the population of Iraq, I think, got cancer because of depleted uranium. White phosphorus that melts the skin of whoever it drops on, all because of the West's obsession with oil. Lord Crewe said in the 1920s and the Foreign Office in 1958 that the aim was to keep Arabia divided so no one unified power could challenge Western interests. ISIS was born. Yes, that's right. It was born from the illegal war in Iraq.
There undeniably would be no ISIS if we had not invaded Iraq.
ISIL is a direct outgrowth of Al-Qaeda in Iraq that grew out of our invasion, which is an example of unintended consequence.
And a secret analysis by the agency you ran, the Defense Intelligence Agency, in August 2012 said, and I quote, that, quote, is there is a possibility of establishing a declared or undeclared Salafist principality in eastern Syria, and this is exactly what the supporting powers to the opposition want in order to isolate the Syrian regime. The US saw the ISIL caliphate coming and did nothing.
When ISIS was starting off, who let it grow? Who funded it? Who promoted it? Again, it's the land of the free and the brave.
We have totally destabilized the Middle East. It's a disaster.
That's right. It was being used for political gains. And then when it spirals out of control, rather than the US and the Western nations bowing their heads in humbleness and saying, you know what, we're the cause of this and we're going to deal with it, blah, blah, blah. No! On top of that, they're becoming more arrogant and saying it's the Muslims. We need to change the book. And the Muslims should be ashamed of them. Shut up.
All right. See, my mother don't talk to me like that.
You're the problem. You deal with it. Don't make it seem like it's my religion and I'm the problem.
Instead of the American white man eliminating the causes that create that condition, he tries to cover it up by accusing his accusers of teaching hate. But actually, they're just exposing him for being responsible for what exists.
ISIL is a direct outgrowth of al-Qaeda in Iraq that grew out of our invasion, that grew out of our invasion, that grew out of our invasion.